I'm Jaclyn Johnson.
And I'm Marina Middleton.
And this is WorkParty, a podcast that's part work
and part party.
WorkParty celebrates a new generation of women who are redefining the meaning of work on their own terms and having fun while doing it.
In this podcast, we are diving into all the areas of being a working woman: mind, body, and business. No topic is off limit.
Real talk and hot takes. Think of us as your internet work wives. This is WorkParty,
the podcast.
Wait, where's the champagne?
Starting a business comes with lots of excitement, but also a million questions, especially around the stuff no one likes to talk about. Like, how do you actually set up a business anyway? When do you need to think about trademarks? And do you really need to form an LLC if you're just starting out? We get it. Legal can feel overwhelming, but it's one of those things that's actually so much easier if you understand the basics up front. That's why we're talking to someone who spent her career helping entrepreneurs protect what they're building and avoid the "I wish I had known" moments later on. Today's guest is Anu Sethee, VP of Legal Practice and Attorney Services at LegalZoom. She leads their law firm, LZ Legal Services, and oversees their independent network of attorneys who support founders at every stage. But more than that, she really gets what it takes to go from idea to legit business. So if you've ever Googled, "Do I need an LLC?" or wondered when to trademark your brand name, this episode is for you. Anu, we're so excited to have you here with us.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Well, let's start with the big question. A lot of early stage founders have. Why is it actually important to formalize your business entity early, even if it's like this small little baby thing that you're just starting out?
Yeah, I mean, people often think that their side hustles are something they do on the weekends to make a little extra cash. But as soon as money changes hands for a product or service, you're running a business in the eyes of the law. So it's important to shift that mindset. And I'd say the primary reason why you would want to formalize your business early is for personal liability protection. LLC, like, think about it as putting kind of a fence around your personal assets, your home, your savings, your kids' college fund. It's separating you from your business. Even if it's a side hustle, say you're selling cupcakes. If somebody has an allergic reaction, they're not happy, they sue you. If you don't have that formal structure, your personal assets are on the line and they're at risk. Beyond that, it also makes you more credible. So having that structure is going to make you look more professional to potential customers and partners. And then it sets you up for a simpler tax season. You can, you're tracking your expenses, you can take deductions. It's really setting yourself up for smart growth so that when your side hustle, your little thing that you're doing on the side, inevitably does take off, you aren't scrambling to fix these foundational legal issues.
Yeah, when I first started my business, obviously it was very intimidating to figure out what entity to sign up for. Everybody was like, do an LLC, do an LLC. Why is that the go-to, or why does it benefit small businesses?
Yeah, that feeling of intimidation is so common, and that's why we at LegalZoom are trying to make things simpler. But you're right that an LLC is often the right answer for small businesses, and it comes down to two things. It's that liability protection and simplicity or flexibility of LLCs. So the liability protection we already talked a little bit about, but an LLC is going to create a separate legal person from you so that if anything does happen, you're shielded from anything that happens in the business. And then that flexibility, LLC offers a lot of flexibility, especially with taxes. So LLCs are treated as pass-through entities for taxation, which means that you report that income and those expenses on your personal tax returns instead of having to do that separately or facing double taxation like you would with a corporation.
Okay, so on the flip side, let's say you pick an entity and it may be the wrong one. Actually, a lot of times I talk to entrepreneurs who start as an LLC, but then maybe start to raise venture and need to become a corporation. So how does that transition work? How do you think about maybe changing your structure eventually?
Yeah, I mean, getting it right and setting up that business structure early is so important because it helps you avoid missteps later. I'd say the most painful misstep that you could face is not setting up, not formalizing an entity at all, because that opens you up for unlimited personal liability. But another common misstep that we see is when people, they jump into the wrong entity structure for them that doesn't line up with their business's growth trajectory or their industry. So some people jump straight into a C corporation, and that C corporation is going to maybe have some unnecessary complexities, double taxation. There's additional administrative burden like bylaws, minutes, meetings that maybe you don't need for where you're at in your business. Even LLCs. So prior to joining LegalZoom, I had my own law firm. And as a law firm in California, you can't be set up as an LLC. So there are a lot of considerations that you have to take into mind when you're thinking about the right entity structure for your business. And I'd say it's actually a really important time to talk to an attorney about all of those considerations and figure out what the right structure for you is. It's so much better and more affordable to do that at the front end than having to scramble after the fact. And at LegalZoom, we actually have business legal plans that connect you with vetted, experienced attorneys in your state to have those conversations. And they are so affordable. I'm talking like less than $50 a month. You have access to these very experienced attorneys who have these conversations all the time. And then you continue to have this trusted advisor that you can go to as you're starting, running, managing your business.
Yeah, I feel like it gives you that confidence too when you talked a little bit about it, of having that structure and that entity. But beyond just picking it and checking the box, you talked about the liability and taxes. How does the structure actually affect those things? And does LegalZoom kind of help navigate the growth of the business throughout?
Yeah, your entity structure is truly foundational. It is so much more than just checking a box. So liability, again, we talked a little bit about that LLC corporations, they're going to create a separate entity so that your personal assets are not on the line. If you don't have that structure, your personal assets are at risk. With taxes, with an LLC or a sole proprietorship, you're going to be able to do those taxes on your own personal tax returns. Versus with a corporation, it'll be a separate tax. And then down the line, as your business grows, you can also elect to be taxed as a C corporation or an S corporation. And so a lot of tax considerations that go into which entity that you have and what's appropriate for you and your business. And then growth over time, like you mentioned, depending on your entity, it's really going to dictate and impact if you can bring on partners, if you can take outside investment, when you're ready to sell down the line, how you would be able to do that. So that entity structure really dictates so much and impacts so much with your business. And again, why it's so important to have those conversations early with an attorney or a professional.
Definitely. I was going to say my first company ever, I did everything on LegalZoom just because I didn't know where to start, as an entrepreneur who also was horrible at the time, like logistics and operations and all those things. And I'm so glad that I was able to do that. But let's talk about intellectual property, because this is also where founders get into trouble. For someone just starting out, what counts as IP?
Yeah, it's such an important question. So your IP, your intellectual property, is anything you create with your mind that's going to give your business a competitive edge. So that's your branding, it's your website content, it's photos, videos, marketing materials, your inventions, your unique business processes. All of that is part of your business's IP.
And so there's also, with IP, there's a lot of confusion around trademarks, copyright, and patents and the difference. Can you, in just plain English, break it down for us? What are the difference of each?
Yeah, I mean, I can try. So think of your IP as like all of those different types of IP as different parts of your business's brainchild. But your trademarks are going to protect your brand identity. So that's your name, your logo, your slogan. Think like Nike's swoosh or just do it. It's really what sets you apart in the marketplace. And as a small business, trademarks are often the most relevant and important IP protection that you need to really protect your brand and then build your reputation. Then copyrights are protecting your original creative works. So that's going to be your photos, your videos, your marketing material, your original blog posts. And registering a copyright is going to strengthen your enforcement ability and enforcement rights. And then patents are really, they're the most complex. Patents are protecting your inventions and your unique business processes. It's protecting how something works, or if it's a design that's functional, it's protecting those unique kind of processes. Patents, again, the most complex and really most relevant for tech or product heavy startups. And really what you need to know is you might need all three of those depending on what your business is, and all of them require different action. But IP, your business's IP is really your business's most valuable asset, whether intangible or tangible. And the earlier you protect it, the more you are able to invest in your brand and your business's future.
So these are obviously super important. Do you have examples of a time when someone's gotten this really right and maybe a time when someone's gotten it really wrong?
Yeah. So someone who's gotten it right, you can even just look at McDonald's. McDonald's has those golden arches are not just a logo. They are a globally recognized trademark. And McDonald's is vigilant about shutting down like smaller businesses that might be using the Mech prefix or similar designs to the golden arches so that it doesn't dilute their brand. And another more recent one is actually Pop Mart and Labubu's. So we hear about Labubu's all the time. It was recently in the news, but Pop Mart works with an artist who is the one who designed and created Labubu's, and they have a lot of copyright and trademark protection in place. But recently, they took legal action against people online who were using 3D printers to make models and selling Labubus that were designed on a 3D printer. And they were selling them for like less than $1, like 50 cents. And Pop Mart prevailed on that legal action. They won, and they were able to shut down those infringers that were otherwise diluting and cheapening their brand. So that's really those are both cases of maybe doing it right, but why it's so important
to do. Yeah. There's so many examples, and I've seen like painful Instagram posts from companies that are like, we're changing our name because they just didn't get the protections early on. And we all know how hard it is to build a brand, then to have to rebuild a brand with a new name. It's just exhausting. So being on top of it.
It's so true.
Important.
It's like IP is not just a formality. It really is giving you the protection to be able to protect and build your brand.
Yeah, and you talked about obviously entity is really important to be set up early on. Do you feel like trademark is the same? Like, do you have to figure out your logo? Could you just trademark your name when you first start? Like, talk us through like the time frame of that.
Yeah, I think for trademarks, it's never too early to file for a trademark. As soon as you have a name that you are using or plan to use in commerce, you should get started, because that's what's going to give you priority over potential infringers down the line. And you don't have to wait for a logo. It's a separate application. So as soon as you have that, then you file that one as well. It's really just, as you said, the worst is investing time and money into your branding and then later finding out that someone else has your name.
Oh my gosh. I think the thing that intimidates a lot of founders and business owners, though, is like, okay, cool. I need a trademark. I need a copyright. I need to do all these things. And they just see dollar signs. They might not have the budget, to bring on a lawyer to do all those things. So what are some steps they can take?
Yeah, with trademarks in particular, if you're not ready for a trademark application, you can also do a trademark search, which will at least give you kind of a layout of the legal landscape and what names are out there already. But I would say, places like LegalZoom, we're really catering to people who don't have that giant legal budget and are just getting started. So for example, with our trademark services, we offer attorney-assisted trademark services for 60 to 65% less than you would pay for a traditional law firm, because we use platforms and processes to bring down the cost so that we're able to offer, customers those services for a more
that's
affordable
amazing.
price.
And are trademarks something you have to update and renew year over year?
Not year over year. It is a longer period of time, over several years. But yes, you do have renewals with trademarks.
And one of the things I found so interesting with trademarks, which is something I learned as a business owner, is the categories. So you can have a name, but you just have to trademark it in the categories you plan to operate in. But the tricky part, and it was something interesting with Create and Cultivate, was we were thinking about what in the future would we ever want to do. So you really do have to think steps ahead.
You do. I think a great example of that is like Dove. There's Dove chocolates, which has the trademark in the fields that Dove chocolates you would think of would. And then there's Dove soap, and they have the trademarks in the fields that they would need those trademarks, but they both coexist because they are in those separate goods and services. So you do have to think about what are the right goods and services for your brand.
That's such a great example. I've
literally
thought of that. That is like crap. My mind just was blown.
But in my head, I was like, is it the same person?
I was like, oh my
Separate
God.
companies.
No, separate companies. Yeah.
God, that's so funny.
Chocolate body wash. Let's go.
I think outside of obviously budget, I do think just the conversation about legal in general is so scary for people, which is probably why Jaclyn and I did use LegalZoom, like especially early on, because you just don't know much. It's like, how can people change their mindset when it comes to this daunting feeling that they're getting when it comes to all of the legal aspects of the business?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you just have to get started, and you can't do it all at once. You can't, that's that saying, you can't boil the ocean. Like, you have to take one step at a time. So take the first step and then get started. And places like LegalZoom are here to help guide you every step of the way and give you confidence so you're not going it alone.
So what are some of the services that LegalZoom offers for entrepreneurs? Obviously, it's a household name. Everyone knows LegalZoom. I use it as a verb sometimes. I'm like, I LegalZoomed that, you know? But I think at the same time, you guys have expanded services so much. So what are some of the ones that entrepreneurs can use?
Yeah, so LegalZoom really offers every service that a small business would need to get up and running quickly with their legal stuff. So we can help you set up your entity, whether that's an LLC, a corporation, a nonprofit. We can help you get your EIN, your business bank accounts, your trademarks registered. And then down the line, once you're running your business, we can also help you stay compliant in your state. And we do all of that. Everything is built to be fast, affordable, easy to understand. And then where you do need help, you do have questions, you can always talk to a person, whether that's our care team or actual attorneys.
Yeah, which I love, because you guys have truly combined tech and real human expertise in a way that does make it feel very approachable. How have you guys been able to use technology to make legal help feel more attainable?
Yeah, I would say that's our sweet spot. I mean, technology, including AI, we use in everything that we do to offer legal help to customers and make it more accessible. So our online platform really takes complex legal tasks and breaks it down into easy guided steps. And then excitingly, in my world, when you work with attorneys, we have a proprietary two-sided platform that's compliant in all the ways that it needs to be. But it enables you to connect with attorneys, communicate, schedule meetings, pass documents, info sharing, all on this platform, which makes attorneys more efficient and effective, which again is how we're able to then offer those attorney services at more affordable prices directly to consumers.
I love that. And what, you know, as an entrepreneur who maybe is like, okay, I'm starting this week, what's one legal move they can make this week to become a more legit business?
Yeah, I love that word legit. I think, just take one step, whether that is formalizing your business with an entity, whether that's creating an invoice, downloading a contract, getting started with your trademark application. Taking that one step is going to change your mindset from I have an idea to I am a business owner, and that's really powerful. And again, like gets you to that legitimacy.
I liken it to having a Gmail email address and then having like a createcultivate.com email address. It's like all of a sudden you're like, I'm legit.
Yeah, I'm legit.
100%.
Exactly.
No, and again, you touched on it earlier. It's just, it builds confidence. And do you know these little tasks that you feel like they're so daunting, but once they're done, you're like, why did I wait so long for that? I really do feel like this is all the same thing. And Jaclyn and I have obviously been in business for so long. Her definitely more because she's older than me, but
so old.
No, but truly, I think that like LegalZoom has modernized and remove the scary part of setting up your business and just knowing everything. But I like that you guys do provide like that help and advice throughout the life cycle of the founder, entrepreneur, or business owner. So I know you touched on a little bit of advice, but what would you give advice for a new business owner that is like terrified of starting?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you don't have to have everything figured out. You
Love
just
that.
have to get started.
Yeah.
And again, there are so many tools and resources out there, like with LegalZoom, that will help guide you, and give you the confidence that you need to get started. So I always love saying, and I'm sure I should be attributing this to someone, but it's, if it lives in your head, give it an address. So I mean, just get started and see how you grow.
Hopefully that's not a trademark.
I
phrase.
hope not.
We'll find out.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much. And if you're ready to get your business legally legit without the overwhelm, check out LegalZoom. They've helped millions of entrepreneurs form their business, protect their brand, and move forward with confidence. Whether you're filing an LLC, trademarking your name, or figuring out where to start, LegalZoom offers simple, streamlined solutions backed by expert support. You can explore everything they offer at LegalZoom.com and find the tools that fit where you are in your journey. If you want a little extra guidance, LegalZoom's own law firm, LZ Legal Services, and their nationwide independent network of attorneys are available to support your next move. Whether you're side hustling or scaling fast, getting set up the right way from the start is a game changer.
So make your business legit today with LegalZoom.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Work Party. If you like what you heard, follow, leave a review, rate the pod, or slide into our DMs.
Check out the different ways you can create and cultivate on our website, createcultivate.com. From retreats and masterminds to our summits and festival.
We have different experiences to support you through your entrepreneurial journey from launch
To legacy.
Follow us at Create Cultivate on all platforms, and don't forget, work hard.
Party on.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.